California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse.
Greg Gutfeld just scorched Gavin Newsom's carefully crafted persona, leaving behind nothing but smoke, ego, and a plastic smile melting under pressure. In a takedown so explosive it shook liberal circles to their core, Gutfeld tore through Newsom's contradictions, mocked his theatrics, and exposed him as a governor caught frozen in the glare of a primetime monologue. This wasn't a roast, it was a political wrecking ball, and Newsom never saw the swing coming. Welcome to Gutfeld, fully unrestrained.
So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay? No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends. And
it began like any other night on Gutfeld's set. Stage blazing, mug in hand, that sly, razor-sharp grin carving across his face. But tonight wasn't ordinary. It wasn't the usual rotation of clever punchlines or mild jabs. Tonight, Greg Gutfeld was geared for combat. His target? California's polished political prince, Gavin Newsom, the man whose hair works harder than he does and who glides through press events as if every podium were a runway lit for a magazine cover.
Took common sense as his high ground.
Right.
There's no place outside of it.
That's right.
And so they're stuck in this horrible, horrible place, much like you, Jamie, in your life. As California falls apart, it must remind you somewhat of your own personal life.
Yeah. Sometimes I look at footage of California and I go, oh, look how much better it is than my life.
If you're hooked on this takedown, hit subscribe, he teased, because standing in Gutfeld's crosshairs was the closest thing to progressive perfection's big billboard. At least that's the role Gavin Newsom performs on repeat. But beneath that glossy exterior lies a mountain of failure piled higher than unpaid fines. And Gutfeld, he didn't just point to it, he detonated it. With the precision of a late-night host who's done playing along, he shredded Newsom's reputation like a discarded Hollywood screenplay, flashy, bloated, and begging for a rewrite. Let's rewind. Newsom had coasted for years on the left's golden boy glow.
Why do I keep bringing up Gavin? Well, other than my respect for his work in American Psycho, he's starting to distance himself from his party's worst ideas. Newsom, a guy who hates fossil fuels but could still bring down the price of gas by wringing out his hair, once proclaimed that his state would be a sanctuary to all who seek it.
He flashes a toothpaste commercial smile, tosses buzzwords like a TED Talk showman, and struts as if California were a perfect paradise sculpted by his own hands. But behind the filtered press briefings and shiny fundraiser dinners, the reality outside the governor's mansion has collapsed into chaos. And Gutfeld wasn't letting that illusion slide. The moment he stepped on stage, the atmosphere snapped. No warm-up, no easing in. Just a hard slice of truth straight through Newsom's armor-plated ego.
If you conflate order with authoritarianism, you get chaos and destruction. So if restoring order is evil, then the Dems are now the party of disorder. Turns out the only system they had was wokeism, and it rotted any basic principles the party had to begin with. Which is why, like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames. And this time, no one is going to help them put it out.
Gutfeld began peeling off Newsom's polished coating, revealing the rot festering underneath California's surface. The so-called model state Newsom flaunts as evidence of progress now looks more like a collapsing empire. Streets have morphed into sprawling encampments, while taxes have skyrocketed so high that Elon Musk practically sprouted wings and launched himself to Texas. And when it came to crime, Gutfeld didn't need hyperbole. Reality was already loud enough. Smash-and-grab robberies shattered storefronts nightly, and carjackings were almost as routine as ordering an Uber. And yet somehow, through all of this, Newsom clung tightly to his golden fantasy.
Problem is his track record, his performance as mayor, as lieutenant governor, and governor. And your analogies are great. I think mine are better. And just hold on. And here's why. He shows up at the fires and says, who the hell caused this? I'm going to crack down on the people responsible. He sees the homeless encampments blocking the sidewalks and said, you guys clean that up. He started it. He spent $3 billion to fix it. And his opening words in 2020 when it got the job is a disgrace. The richest state in the country and the richest nation in the world has a homeless problem. I will fix it. He spends $1 billion when it's not fixed. He blames the mayors. And he also forced the movie industry and Silicon Valley out of the best state in the country by high taxes. I've never seen someone with such a bad performance, but yet I think he's the front runner to get the nomination for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. They got nobody else, Sherrod.
And somehow, Newsom still found time to lecture the rest of America, preaching morality, freedom, and leadership as if he were the nation's guiding flame. That's when Gutfeld turned up the burner. This wasn't just hypocrisy, it was choreographed theater, and Newsom, the overpaid lead actor stumbling over his lines. Gutfeld laid it out clean, a governor wagging his finger at Florida for book bans while students in his own state struggled to read, condemning Texas for abortion laws while fending off streets drowning in fentanyl and forgotten lives. The irony cracked like thunder. Laughter rose, not out of humor, but out of recognition. Then came the finale, Newsom's moment, his spotlight, his chance to shine.
Newsom said he hopes the conservative Supreme Court will overturn the current law that bans his state from removing out-of-control homeless encampments. Imagine that. Well, what did you expect, Gavin? That the sanctuary seekers were going to show up in Winnebagos? Once again, another example of a high-profile lib using his big mouth to write a check his ass can't cash. Last year, after the Texas Governor Abbott ordered that parents of transitioning children should face criminal investigation, Newsom then tweeted this: trans kids and their families should be celebrated, not targeted by the state. They are heroes. And so to fearful families in Texas right now, California's door is always open to you.
With a sly grin, Gutfeld painted a brutal picture. California's middle class was evaporating faster than water in a desert. Small businesses locked their doors for good, while Hollywood elites and Silicon Valley billionaires toasted champagne behind guarded gates. And there stood Gavin, smiling, flawless, hair sculpted like glass, pretending the suffering around him was just background props for his next campaign ad. But Gutfeld wasn't chasing laughs tonight. He carried something harsher: truth. Newsom wasn't just flawed, he was driving people out. Families weren't leaving for fun, they were fleeing. Businesses packed up, desperate to survive outside a state that punished them for existing. Even longtime residents asked, how did California fall this far?
What do you think about Gavin Newsom? What's going on there?
I don't know. I don't know how they bump out Kamala out of VIP, put a white male in there and take her out. She's got too much of an ego to just step aside. She's going to go crazy if they try to do that.
Plus, she had a strong 2% support, so don't forget that.
Yeah, but she's waiting for that spot to just open for her, and then you put a white male in there?
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to put, they did it to Bernie. They threw him under the bus two, presidential ones in a row. They just gave him a couple extra houses in Vermont. Go, yeah, you got some extra money. But I don't know how they could do it with her.
It'd be great if they threw her under the bus, because she really likes buses, remember?
Gutfeld kept pushing, watching Newsom's illusions crumble like a magic trick played in reverse. The economic growth Newsom hyped? Smoke and mirrors. His climate leadership? Hollow gestures draped in solar panels and photo ops. His compassion? A performance lasting only as long as the cameras rolled. Then came the line that froze the room. Not rage, but truth sharp enough to carve steel. Gutfeld compared California to a mansion with spotless windows and manicured lawns. But step inside, and the walls reek of mold. The floorboards are cracked, and the ceiling leaks desperation. A gleaming shell masking decay. A house propped up by slogans instead of beams. That, he declared, was Gavin Newsom's California. A dazzling disaster wrapped in progressive paper. The crowd gasped, then laughed, not because it was exaggerated, but because it was painfully accurate. California wasn't a beacon, it was a warning.
Californians used to sell maps of celebrity homes, not landmines. Now, instead of sightseeing, tourists play hopscotch so their shoes don't get hepatitis. And when residents complain, they're called cruel. And now we're supposed to believe Gavin? Hell no. All the problems of the last decade were based on his and his party's lies.
The crowd wasn't laughing at jokes. They were laughing because truth had perfect timing. Gutfeld delivered it with the precision of a surgeon. Meanwhile, somewhere, maybe in a luxury hotel suite or behind another velvet podium, Gavin was probably flashing that polished grin, confident no late-night host could dent him. But he was wrong, completely wrong. Gutfeld didn't just dent the armor, he split it down the middle. This wasn't debate, it was demolition. And from the rubble rose something chilling, whispers of presidential ambition, the threat Gutfeld had been sounding alarms about. If California was the laboratory, Newsom was the lab coat-wearing mad scientist, and America the next experiment. And Gutfeld wasn't about to let that nightmare slide.
Then came the national polling. By overwhelming majorities, it turns out Americans don't favor minors transitioning. So last week, when a California law was proposed that judges in custody cases favor the parent who supports transitioning a child's new gender, Newsom killed that law quicker than a late-term abortion. Yeah, I know, huh? Now the left, being the left, was outraged, but they missed something, because now Newsom says he only vetoed it since it's already the law.
Gutfeld didn't let up. He closed with a deadpan mic drop only he could deliver. A slow smirk, a deliberate sip from his mug, and a piercing look at the camera that said, "We see you, Gavin." And no amount of hair gel could cover this disaster. What made the moment unforgettable wasn't the comedy. It was the precision, the sting, the way Gutfeld tore down Newsom's polished myth with nothing but wit and unshakable facts. No theatrics, no shouting, no pounding on the desk, just sarcasm sharp as a blade, letting reality finish the job. He led viewers straight through San Francisco's wasteland, where billionaires sidestep human waste on their way to dinner, and businesses shudder not because of competition, but because law and order have collapsed. The picture was undeniable. Gavin Newsom's California isn't a model, it's a neon warning.
Gavin ponders why Dems lost.
We lost. We lost the popular vote, and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed. And we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote unquote, woke? Was it because of issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand it. At the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
Gutfeld zeroed in on the hypocrisy with laser accuracy. There was Newsom imposing masks, lockdowns, and shutting down schools, churches, and small businesses, while he himself wined and dined maskless at the French Laundry, clinking glasses with the elite as if rules were for peasants only. Gutfeld didn't need fury. He leaned into the absurdity and let the audience laugh at the injustice. The punchlines landed hard, not because they were jokes, but because they were truths everyone knew yet few dared to say. Then the exodus, families fleeing in droves, desperate for states where leaders didn't treat them like burdens. The laughter roared, but underneath was a sobering realization. This wasn't comedy, this was consequence. And Gutfeld's mastery? He stripped away Newsom's mask without breaking a sweat.
Voters is the classic wolf in sheep's hair gel. Just watch him answer the tough questions.
Any other questions here?
Yes, Governor. California has a terrible homeless problem. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And I think it's a matter of perspective. Let's kind of flip the script on that, okay? Let's kind of put a new lens on that. I mean, you see a homeless man. I see an outdoorsman. We got a lot of natural habitat in this state, and I'm just so proud that so many people in California can take advantage of that. All right, next question.
He described a man who lives for the camera, who scolds entire states with a wagging finger, and who builds a national image out of choreographed outrage and rehearsed indignation. Gavin Newsom, the walking billboard for style over substance, didn't escape for a second. Behind the gloss and the sculpted hair, Gutfeld revealed the truth. A political mannequin, smooth edges carved for headlines, but no spine when reality hits. He hammered the absurdity of Newsom's rumored presidential ambitions, the idea that a governor overseeing a free-falling state could march onto the national stage and sell that chaos to America. Comedy gold, and Gutfeld mined every ounce, strike after strike. And here's what made it lethal. The comedy wasn't cruel. It was clear. It was undeniable. Each jab, each smirk, each perfectly timed pause carried one message. This isn't leadership. It's branding, and that brand is collapsing live on camera. Gutfeld didn't need to yell, he didn't need theatrics, he let the truth do the wrecking. And yes, Gutfeld obliterated Gavin Newsom, not with insults, not with rage, but with something far more deadly. For a politician obsessed with his reflection, irony sharpened to a blade and delivered with calm confidence. In a world drowning in spin, optics, and staged narratives, that kind of honesty doesn't just land, it detonates. That night wasn't just a win for Gutfeld, it was annihilation. A freight train of truth smashing through the fragile facade Newsom had spent years crafting. And somewhere in California, Gavin Newsom is still reeling, still trying to piece together what hit him. Spoiler, it wasn't politics, it wasn't partisanship. It was reality, and it was Greg Gutfeld.